And now, the presentation of Dr. Rami Bakir. I'll present him once again. Dr. Rami is an assistant professor in the Department of Architectural Engineering at the Arab Academy for Science, Technology, and Maritime. Welcome, Dr. Rami.
Welcome, Doctor, and thank you very much. I hope you hear me well this time.
Very well.
Great, thank you. I apologize for the problems. But again, hello, my name is Rami Bakir. I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Architectural Engineering and Environmental Design in the Arab Academy for Science, Technology, and Maritime Transport in Cairo, Egypt. First of all, I would like to thank Al Shuru Academy and express how honored I am to be invited amongst the esteemed speakers in this conference. And I would like to also thank all the respected speakers who presented their insightful work and ideas today, and even the questions that were raised by Dr. Bessel that were really enticing. I would like to present, however, today some of my reflections on how certain transformations in the educational practices I have witnessed during the first COVID-19 lockdown in my department at AAST Cairo. AAST has 12 campuses in 8 cities in 3 countries, but my 16 years of academic teaching experience is specifically with the Cairo campus in Sheraton Heliopolis, from where I'm giving my talk right now, and is the focus of my presentation. I want to use this presentation to talk to you mainly about 3 things: a glimpse at AAST Architectural Department and its practices during the first COVID-19 lockdown, then some of my research findings regarding the topic, and after that, some of my personal reflections. And before I give you a glimpse of our practices during COVID, please bear with me for a couple of minutes to share with you some of the history of our department that shaped the manner by which we responded to COVID-19 later. I would like to start with the programs that we provide. We have a Bachelor of Science program and a Master's of Science program. The Bachelor program consists of 10 semesters that require normally 5 years of full-time studying to achieve 180 credit hours, and a curriculum that is divided into 50 core courses and 31 elective courses students can choose from. Our first 4 years are validated by for RIBA Part 1 since 2006, and the last year of the Bachelor program, along with the coursework of the Master's program, together are validated for RIBA Part 2 since 2013. For the presentation, however, I will mainly focus on our undergraduate program that consists of 10 streams of courses, 8 of which are purely architectural. But I have to make a disclaimer first that I will not be able to cover all that happened in all of these courses. I will mainly present some of the practices occurring in AST Cairo, but from what I witnessed as an instructor of 5 courses from 3 different streams in the undergrad program, and also as a coordinator of other courses within the design stream, and also as the head of the RIBA committee here, which reviews and organizes all of the work of the department for our yearly examiners' visits. And with that disclaimer out of the way, let me complete the picture of how our school works. Several systems were developed to maintain a unified system between our 12 campuses, leading to a development of our faculty and student portals, allowing access to our internal networks and some in-house platforms. All of this together created our electronic learning management system that we used to rely on in support of our on-campus learning activities before COVID, with some of us using other online platforms such as Facebook and YouTube, which I personally relied on heavily for more than 10 years for any course I used to teach, along with all the other platforms that most probably all of you know. We also had Moodle as an official online platform accessible from the portal that I just mentioned, but it was under development and used by very few instructors before COVID and mainly in other departments. Before COVID and during the last 10 years, I created one Facebook private group for each course I taught to extend my time with my students by allowing us to make announcements, receive submissions, give feedback in time of unpredicted weather emergencies such as today, share posts and links, or share evaluation criteria sometimes. Now, personally, I used Facebook to achieve a hybrid way of running my studios and other courses starting 2011, nearly 10 years ago, as I used it distinctively for how it provided the students enrolled to my course with an extended ability to view their peers' work and the feedback that they get if it was online at the time, and even view the work of previous students as the same Facebook group was maintained for the different cohorts of the same course. And sometimes even students graduating from the department used to share useful information for my younger students. And many times we were able to, as a faculty, to reach students beyond studio times for quick feedback, while allowing both us and our students the ability to go back and see previous iterations of their previous work easily, and also the feedback they received. And many times allowing us to share good examples of design or presentation work, while giving us a chance to make announcements in between classes. And before the pandemic hit, and after years of presuming Facebook benefits, I conducted in 2019 with my colleague, Dr. Sara Saadani from AAST Smart Village Campus, a study to investigate how one of the most used and populated Facebook groups I had, and initiated back in 2013, how it was used during all 7 years of its use to actually understand if its benefits are achieved or not. And based on the research and the observations and thematic analysis of 796 posts made during the study period, we found that all posts fell under 16 subcategories that were specific to architectural education. And when coupled with the analysis of the survey of the students' preferences, those 16 subcategories fell under 4 main categories that defined the main goals behind the posts, which were, first, the dissemination of knowledge, of design knowledge. Second, the guiding and giving feedback to students, for social communication and interaction, and finally, for archival purposes of the different stages of the design process. So these were 16 types of posts that we found very useful for online teaching back in 2019. And based on the research of the observations and the thematic analysis of the, and now that this is out of the way, all of this was before COVID, but these established benefits of social media, along with the official learning management systems developed by AAST and all the other online platforms used, they all came to good use when the COVID hit and were of special help to me since then. As we started the spring semester of 2020 in February, and exactly after 5 weeks and from the beginning of the semester, and incidentally, as my students were just finishing a project that we would have never been able to complete with social distancing, as it involved 40 students working for 6 straight days in campus together in one group. So after those 5 weeks, and on the 14th of March 2020, on a Saturday, the instructions came down the pipeline at 8 p.m. that COVID-19 lockdown would start on the second day, on the 15th of March. A full suspension of teaching on campus was announced. After informing the instructors under my coordination, I informed my students that we will be using Facebook for the next day at 8 a.m. and its live feed tool. Other instructors did the same who had such tools ready. And within a week, and also the Academy held teaching for 1 week, which is a bit similar, but for a shorter period of time as the AUC have done. And within that week, we all tried to use our own tools. But after the week, Moodle, that platform that the Academy had, was developed. And it was announced on the 22nd of March that learning would commence using it and Zoom together, which we kept on using till the end of the semester in June. And in the next several minutes, I will preview quickly with you some of the important practices of our readiness and quick resort to the online tools that we had at our disposal at the time. First of all, and for communication, and as I mentioned, we all made use of official and non-official tools and platforms available to maintain as much a lively communication between students and faculty to maintain engagement. And as I said, Moodle was developed, subscription to Zoom was made, and its unlimited time feature was used extensively, and faculty members intensified the use of all the available platforms, going above and beyond, as many of the students, along with the RIBA examiner who came later, emphasized by the end of this term. And with the continuous flow of information between the administration and Dr. Shif El-Fay, the head of our department, and our course coordinators, we were able to relay to the 100 plus full-time and adjunct faculty members all the updated regulations and tools that were available and how to use Moodle. to deliver course content, Zoom links, assignments, and feedback. Moodle was also used by students to access their textbooks and to get their feedback and grades. And by using Moodle, Zoom, and other platforms, we were able to give feedback to the many design studios that we have, and also all the other courses. With some of us relying on digital tools for annotations, using tablets and styluses and mouses sometimes, while others developed their own tools to relay manual sketching. In addition to using the official learning management systems and for content delivery, I still relied heavily on Facebook and YouTube during COVID to maintain one very important issue that I thought missing, and that is the permanent, visible, accessible information. Due to how relevant both Facebook and YouTube are with users, and how they were prevalent, and how they were user-friendly, and how constant access to them was maintained using our mobiles and our laptops that were always logged into them, they provided students with things that I thought Zoom and Moodle did not. And that thing is, it constantly allowed us to archive lecture posts and submissions that are easily to access by simply scrolling down, and with visually clear previewed thumbnails that make the work and the information dispensed by the students and by our team more legible and easier to access to everyone involved, choosing whether they would like to simply preview or open if needed. As for the juries, before COVID, we had juries held in different stages of each design course. And as many schools of architecture in Egypt and around the world during the COVID lockdown, we were able to maintain this practice while even opening to many of our colleagues abroad from universities, international universities, who were able to join in online. This also helped several of our students to develop their presentation skills. As for the quality of the work and its development, we had to adapt our traditional normal poster format, which was nearly obsolete, as our smaller screens replaced the larger physical panels as the main medium of presentation, and made things harder to perceive all at once, which allowed us to push our Design 3 students to test our other means of representing narratives within their design buildings, and to also test how to present the details of their spaces, components of physical models that jury members were not able to examine firsthand due to the juries being on Zoom. And as we used to test design development of students' projects using physical context models in our Design 2 studios, new rapid workshops were prepared to develop model making skills in our younger students, which allowed us to rely heavily on digital tools to be able to test and present ideas in the context, the digitally built context, but online. And some students even found that since a good chunk of the course was already archived digitally and online, they were able to easily present the whole process of the project. And since the department has established before COVID the culture of course portfolios that were usually presented physically, with the switch online, I encourage many of my students to come up with interesting new ways to reflect on their design process, which some of them were able to explore, and even some of them were able to come up with interesting new ways to tell the stories of their process. Many of them also expressed themselves in a way that I didn't expect personally. And regretfully, since we were not able to congregate in our auditorium anymore to learn from invited speakers, instructors, including myself, invited speakers within their courses separately. And if they allowed, we would record the talk and we could upload it to YouTube, which was beneficial, as stated by many students who went back and re-listened. This constant archival also allowed students with problems with the internet connection access, which is a big problem with many of our students, access the material whenever it was convenient to them. As for our social informal discussions and gatherings with the students, Zoom helped many of us to maintain same practice during and after the course ended. And interestingly, many students also use TikTok to tell stories old and new in their own way after the lockdown. Two other very interesting practices remain that I would like to present that manifested as student initiatives, where some students complained to me once that they missed seeing other people's work in our year-long exhibition in the 4th floor of our building. So we decided to create a virtual exhibition using Instagram that students led and were more involved in. The second activity done by the students was one that students came up with years back before COVID, and that was library talks, which were events that were arranged and attended by few students in our library every month. However, since COVID, its frequency intensified, they had more sessions, and the number of attendance rose considerably. Now, these were some of the practices I have developed and or observed during the spring of 2020 at AST Cairo, but not to be painting a rosy picture, I would like to present some of the findings of another new empirical study that we conducted after the pandemic in the summer of 2020, where with Dr. Sara Saadani and Dr. Sharif Abdel Mohsen from the AUC, we decided to use a mixed method approach to understand students' experiences of online design education post-COVID-19, where a survey with open-ended and closed-ended questions was distributed to both the Cairo and Smart Village campuses of AAST, and 19 core and elective courses were chosen with a population of 717 students, and using randomized sampling techniques, a sample size of 356 students was calculated. However, 162 students of which just responded by the time of writing of the first published paper. The quantitative data revealed that actually the overall experience was positive, as 34% of the students thought that the spring semester as a whole was better than their previous semesters, against only 23.5% who thought it was worse. In terms of satisfaction, again, more students thought that the online stage of the spring of 2020 was rewarding, and when asked to rate their overall experience during the online stage, nearly 50% said it was either good or excellent, while around a quarter thought it was fair or poor. One has to say, however, that in terms of effort, students felt that the online stage required demanding level of effort. The qualitative data, however, painted a richer picture, as two families of themes were identified. The first described the positive experiences that students perceived during their online learning stage of the 2020 spring semester. Four main themes were identified, first of which was how students felt that the online stage helped them save time, as there was no need to commute to school and no need to waste time plotting anymore. The second positive experience was that of feeling an increase in support provided by faculty members. The third positive thing for the students was how they felt more independent and able to research for themselves. The fourth main theme capturing the merits of the online learning stage was that of professional socialization, where students were encouraged to learn from their peers and even learn from external sources. On the other hand, three main challenges that students perceived as most critical were identified. The most overwhelming challenge was that of poor internet connection. Achieving balance was with the increased amount of work was the second theme of challenges, and isolation as a third theme included several manifestations where the lack of face-to-face interaction was found hindering. In other cases, students also expressed how not seeing others' work made them feel like they worked in separate silos. Such findings led us to further investigate the data regarding the educational technologies used. Overwhelmingly, students found Zoom as the most efficient, followed by Facebook groups. The reasons appeared to influence students' preferences regarding the educational technologies were mainly four. The first was maintaining live communication. If the platform allowed live communication, then that meant that they would most probably like it, and that's why nearly 80% of the around 160 students said that Zoom was the best. Controlling levels of privacy was also mentioned as one of the preferences. The permanency of digital archiving of their work, and also the instantaneous notification of updates. But when I look at both the observations I presented and also the findings I just presented, along with the very interesting presentations I heard from the keynote speakers and the presentations just now, I'm left to reflect on several issues that I would like to leave you with. I believe that the transformations we have witnessed in the spring of 2020, starting with March 15th in Egypt, and the following summer and fall semester that we have just concluding here at the Academy 2 weeks back, have pushed us suddenly towards transforming our educational system in a way that has not been witnessed at least in the last 20 years of my education and teaching. I also believe that this transformation is not an overarching, sweeping transformation, as was the case in the 19th century with the Beaux-Arts studio model, nor as in the 20th century with the German Bauhaus Atelier studio models. I believe that the transformation we are witnessing now in the 21st century that is expedited by the emergence of the coronavirus is different in nature, as it seems to be more contextual and developing from the bottom up. And by that I mean it is grounded and influenced by our individual technological literacies of each specific place that each of us is teaching from, making it a situated pedagogical transformation affected by our socio-cultural contexts, where the smoothness and rapidness of our transition to online or hybrid teaching relies on the technologies each of us know and master, which could really put us in a disadvantage regarding our current collective status in terms of understanding and using technologies. That is why I believe making technology available, affordable, and accessible is extremely important to ensure digital inclusion and to achieve a quick, resilient form of development in our architectural pedagogy to help us move forward. That is also why I'm very grateful that this discussion and this conference is taking place, as only through such discussions we can bring together different points of view and learn from one another and collaborate. I also think that such discussions must be accompanied with an intensified empirical research, and promptly too. I think we have to start as soon as possible, as many of the presenters said, as I believe that this research in this early stage of the transformation that is most telling in regards of what are the most important aspects from the traditional studio culture that we have been witnessing for years, what will migrate and transfer to this new online hybrid studio culture. And by seeing what will migrate the easiest, we will be able to understand more about our studio cultures. And at the same time, that examination will allow us to understand and choose what should we adopt and keep, and what we could adapt and change, and what we must drop altogether in this new virtual post-pandemic reality. And finally, and since I was involved in hybrid teaching for nearly 10 years now, and also researching the subject, I could testify that it is extremely demanding for both faculty members and students, as Dr. Besser just said. However, their performance so far, and from what I'm witnessing at AAST here and at the schools I have the privilege to sit on jury panels in, they have all exhibited astounding performance, but they are all getting emotionally and mentally and physically drained by the effort. And that is why I truly hope that as their efforts intensify, I hope that the universities focus their developments more towards supporting all who are directly involved in the educational process, both technologically and otherwise. Again, I would sincerely like to thank Al-Shuruu Academy and Dr. Maha and the Professors Manal and Professor Mu'taz, not only for giving me a chance to talk about this topic that I really care about, but also for investing their time to plan for this conference and gave us the time to discuss it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rami, for your interesting lecture.